Good morning, everybody. This is Matt Fleming from Advantage Business Systems. I'm sorry we're a little slow in starting this morning. Unfortunately, the gremlins got in to go to webinar, and we were a bit delayed in terms of getting the software up and running. But you should now be able to see Simon Nicholson's screen, and you should be able to hear myself. You're all in listen-only mode because we've got 14 people on the call today. The purpose of the webinar is to look at some of the features and functionality that have come through in recent versions of Dynamics GP, and obviously take a much closer look at what there is available in 2016. There's some really, if you'll forgive the terminology, cool features in 2016, and Microsoft are investing heavily in sort of improving those features, especially things like workflow, different user types, things of that nature. So you're here to listen to 2016, so I'll be quiet, and I'll hand over to my colleague Simon Nicholson to take you through some of those features. Thanks, Simon.
Thanks, Matt. Okay, excuse me. So what I'll do is I'll go through most of the key new features that are available with GP 2016. A lot of the things that have been added in have been all about sharing data, ease of access. So things like improvements to the web client, ease of access to data across the organisation, and finding simple ways to access information from a single screen in GP, whether that be inquiries, reports, so on and so forth. So I will jump straight in. So the web client, those of you who are using the GP web client, is now HTML5, which means it's not solely available on Microsoft devices, whereas you used to have to use Silverlight. Now it's HTML5, so you can actually view it on Android, tablet, phones, anything along those lines, making it available outside of your office and available to anyone, whether it be from an inquiry, from a report, from an authorization perspective as well. So I'm just going to go through a few in the list. Those of you who use analytical accounting, what you can now do is automatically post your accounts payable payments straight through to the general ledger. Previously, if you had analytical accounting installed, you had to post your AP checks or payments from the general ledger. Now you can actually mark post through the GL, so you don't have any issues with reconciliation when you potentially forget to post those AP payments. Those of you who are using the bank reconciliation module, the bank rec module itself didn't change for a number of years, and it was designed in the way that as soon as you received your cash, it didn't necessarily mean that it had been paid in the bank, so the old-fashioned taking your cash bag down to the bank. So now what you can do is you can mark any cash receipts that you receive. So more often than not, people record any payments from a bank statement or an electronic reconciliation. What you can now do is when you post a cash receipt on the system, whether it be a bank cash receipt or a sales ledger cash receipt, it will automatically deposit into your bank reconciliation, saving you having to do that deposit with receipts. The document attach module, which was new in GP 2013 R2, was a great addition. It moved away from using the Olay notes, and it now enables you to add multiple documents. It keeps an audit of any documents that are deleted, changed, and it also allows you to send documents as a flow through an email. One of the additions in GP 2016 is the availability of scanning documents directly from your scanning machine. I'm not logged into a scanner, which is why my button's grayed out. It enables you to scan directly from a scanner into a record within GP, and that can be a static record such as a debtor or creditor, and also transactional information. Those of you who correctly, prior to posting, do an edit list to make sure that there is no problems on a batch or a transaction prior to it hitting the ledger, you can now simply edit the edit lists in Word. Previously, if you wanted to change the layout of any posting journals or edit lists, so on and so forth, you'd have to go into Report Writer and change the layout in there. As we all know, Report Writer itself isn't that simple to use at times. So what you can now do is you can create your own edit lists to print out in Word, to enable emailing or authorization, so on and so forth, and add additional information if you so desire. These will be available in a number of areas: general ledger journals, purchase ledger payments, so on and so forth. Very handy thing to have, and it makes customizing reports and inquiries and auditing an awful lot easier. Workflow was an addition again in GP 2013. And I'll go through the workflow in a little bit more detail a little bit later, but what you can also do now is any assignments that you send through for batch authorization or transaction authorization, you can send a copy of your Word edit list as part of the email. One great addition is into Smart List. Is one of the biggest issues previously as standard is that debit and credit was the wrong way around. They've now amended that to be debit and credit. A lot of people tend to cheer when we show them that. The additional thing now is that when you export from Excel, any number, whereas it used to have a prefix of the currency symbol, making it difficult to subtotal, now any total fields are automatically as numbers. And you'll see I've just highlighted that, and you can see the record just there. Saves an awful lot of time when you're doing transactions. What you can also do is, if you are using Smart List Designer, if you've created a Smart List on someone's PC and you want to export it, you can do, and then very, very simply import back into another person's PC if you want to. Makes it an awful lot easier than having to create a bespoke Smart List on every single user's PC. Saves time for system administrators, and it ensures that everyone has nice uniform Smart Lists across the system. Those of you who are also using Excel reports, you can create a bespoke Smart List now and publish directly to your Excel report location, so that any custom reports are controlled again by your system administrator, and you can ensure that everyone has access to those reports rather than just individuals. One of the key things that's improved, my apologies, is the ability to share data. So in addition to the standard reporting services reports you get, all 350 odd of them, and the Excel reports you get as part of the standard GP installation, you now can link your management reporter reports into GP so that they're now viewable from within your financial navigation lists. In addition to that, you can also link your Power BI reports directly onto your homepage of GP. So if you have a central administration for your Power BI, you can actually very, very easily maintain them from another location and save them within GP. I will show you that in a short while. In addition to that, those of you who are starting to use REST APIs or APIs to extract and import information in, there is now an OData feature available within GP. This comes with a standard number of tables, and also you can create your own bespoke tables or views and publish those via an OData service URL. All that basically means is that data can be exported and imported from the GP tables without having to use a bespoke customization tool, creating SQL views, and then publishing it. Very, very easily by just going to my administration. I have a list by company, by table, store procedures, so on and so forth, what I would like to be able to view. You'll see I have everything marked. And again, you'll see I have got a test view down here. That's something I've created myself just for the purposes of this. So if you want to be able to show information across your organisation without having to give people access to SQL, so on and so forth, this is a very, very simple way to publish data. That is done simply by a web page. And you'll see it's automatically in XML format, which you can amend, update, publish wherever you need to, put it into a job somewhere, you need to populate other data, and as I said, that is also an insert and update into and out of GP tables. You can also very easily use that to just query information directly from Excel. So if you have a secure connection onto your network, or if you decide to publish this via an HTTPS, you can very, very easily report on live data from your GP system, from your phone, from your tablet, mobile device, or even do it the old school way via a computer. This is a great way of seeing information across the organisation. You can also set to mark which ones you want to see and which ones you don't want to see. As I said a moment ago, talking about Power BI, if I go to my home page, I can mark my Power BI and it will link all my external reports that I have stored on my Power BI app. You see I have a dashboard, and anything I create on here is directly linked from my online Power BI application. So whether this be on your computer, your tablet, your phone, so on and so forth, you can create and publish reports from anywhere you like and have them very, very easily visible within GP. So what you'll see here is I've got a complete list of all my reports I have within there. Any reports I have created, I can simply publish directly from within Excel by using the share up to my Power BI site, grant access, security, so on and so forth. So once again, you have real-time data, which will be automatically refreshed if you so decide when users need it. So just going on to some of the more standard features now. Those of you who use Intercompany, one of the biggest issues previously is knowing whether something is inter, where's it gone to, the company, so on and so forth. So if you actually choose an Intercompany Journal, let's see if I've actually got one in here. What it will be able to do is actually show you, by marking Intercompany, the company entry on the other side, whether it be 2, 3, 4 different intercompany entries, very, very easily viewable. One of the biggest issues with the Excel-based budgeting was that if you tried to import a range of account codes that didn't exist or a financial period that didn't exist, what it would actually do is just not do anything. Now what happens is when you actually do an import, it will give you an exception report. So it'll tell you what is wrong. So let's say, for argument's sake, you've got an incorrect nominal code, incorrect financial period, and it tells you what to fix. So you can fix it and then re-upload again. Moving back to those of you who use analytical accounting, one of the biggest drawbacks that every time you set up a new dimension, you would have to go in and assign which users want access to it. What you can now do is, by default, everyone has access to dimensions. If you want to restrict, you come in and mark it. So it prevents having to do too much work to make sure everyone's got access to analytical accounting. Staying within analytical accounting, you can now mark which modules you want to use AA in. There is also greater analytical accounting information held within SmartList, and you can mark as to how much information you want to be able to view. And just to show you that in SmartList, it used to be very limited as to what you could actually see, but now you see you've got queries, transaction information, historical information, all of your trees, all of your codes. Very, very simple way to actually go through and analyze information from there. In addition to this, because these are now standard smart lists, you can access them through the Excel reports that are published as part of GP. Excuse me. Another option within analytical accounting is you can have it automatically post through general ledger. You can have transaction information from fixed assets. So for those of you who use the fixed asset module, if you're using analytical accounting, it enables greater information from a location, a type, so on and so forth. So you have a smaller chart of accounts, again, just from an asset perspective. Moving over to the payable side. You can now add prepayment deposits onto your purchase orders. Those of you who use credit cards, and this is particularly handy for expense payments. You can now create and do a payment run with a credit card as the payment type. So not check, not EFT, credit card. So in effect, what you would have had a list of invoices come in which you are paying by credit card. So a person's expenses paid by credit card. By marking those invoices as being paid by credit card, what it does is it clears those individual invoices off and then raises a separate invoice against the credit card creditor. So that then when you pay the credit card itself, you then have that audit trail saying, yes, the original invoices were paid by credit card, they're now clear. We now have had an invoice from the credit card company, and we're now paying that separately. Great addition. Also, one of the great things from a purchase ledger perspective, and this is one of my favourite things, a lot of people have asked me when I've been on site, is that how do I find a simple way of seeing which payments are applied to which invoices, or which invoices are paid by which payments or credit notes, so on and so forth. So the all-in-one view, which was available in GP 2015, you can very, very simply, on a supplier by supplier basis, you can list all documents. And I could mark a particular invoice for argument's sake, or payment, and it would easily tell me which invoice relates to it. Or if I mark an invoice, there's the payment that relates to it. It's a great addition and a very, very simple way of analysing what's been paid by where. The same thing's been added onto the sales ledger. And these all-in-one views can be accessed from the card, from inquiries, and also your navigation list. Navigation list is one of my favourite things to use, and you can simply mark and view all-in-one sales from there. I'm going to go straight into, just to show you, exactly the same principle as purchase ledger. Where you have your invoices, receipts, returns, where you can mark, select individual ones that you want to be able to view. The all-in-one view is also available on inventory. So should you wish to see stock inventory items, movements, transactions, so on and so forth. It's a great way to find info. Excuse me, sorry, just taking a sip of water. Project accounting. So those of you who use project accounting, you can now add the document attach function into project accounting expense entries. You see, I just added that into there. So with the PDK module not being available in newer versions of GP, by using the project time and expense module, what this enables you to do is add your scanned documents of your receipts, invoices, so on and so forth, to be able to submit through for approval. What you can also now do is on project accounting, you can submit project requisitions for approval. So if you need to buy specific services or goods to link directly to a project, you can now do that through the requisition. So that will then create a purchase order, which then moves through to invoicing. So again, with reporting and with any financial system, it's all about reporting. So you've got your Excel reports. Again, a great way of analysing data not within GP. Standard out-of-the-box dashboards or reports that you may or may want to use, which can be very, very simply manipulated just using Excel. Because they're directly from the table, you don't need access to GP itself. But what you can do is create your own reports and run them, which will run an awful lot quicker than if you were to do the same kind of inquiry directly through SmartList. Because it's a table, you can very easily add your own columns for calculations and also pivot tables. And this is just using standard Excel functionality, which you can drill down on. You'll see my report ran in approximately 4 seconds, and that returned about 22,000 rows. One of the great things from the Excel reports is that you also have an automatic drill back directly into GP, so you can show the record that that relates to. This is just on financials that I've got, but you have that on sales, purchase, inventory, fixed assets, project accounting, analytical accounting. That drill back function, provided you've got GP, is available to open. This will also either open your FAT client GP or your web client if you're using that. Another great option is the analysis cubes, and the analysis cubes are great for those of you who have got lots and lots of databases and you want to be able to create a nice consolidated view of sales information, purchase information, anything you like. So these you can create a pivot table within GP itself and then publish it to wherever you want. So I've got one, a very, very simple one for age debt, which I've created just the columns that I want. If I just go back to one I created earlier, this is a very, very simple Excel report feeding directly off the data with a filter using a slicer. Again, this is external to GP, so you can publish this to your credit control manager, anything you want. And as long as the information is stored in a GP table, you can very, very easily report on it using Excel or Power BI or the cubes, however you want. Again, we have OData. As I said before, it's an easy way of using REST API and publishing data in Excel to people outside of finance or marketing or IT very, very simply. And Power BI. Again, it enables you from your phone to create, to publish reports however you want to. So one of the things I haven't spoken about is the workflow. And workflow is added in, as I said, very, very simply in GP 2013, and they have increased the elements that you can actually use. So, just as an example, I will show you what you can add workflow onto. So the workflow works on your network login. The approval can be done outside of GP if you want it to. And it can be done via email. So the workflow can be added to general ledger batches, sales ledger, receivables batches, purchasing batches, purchasing transactions, purchase orders, requisitions, and customer creation. Project accounting is expense and timesheet approval. And administration can be added to if you create a smart list designer smart list to prevent too many being on the system. So just from a simplistic perspective, I'm going to go into purchasing and show you my payables batch approval. I've got AP approval. So I have my learned colleague Matt as the payables manager. And within the approval, you can have a number of steps. So if you have conditions of a specific cost center or range of suppliers or anything along those lines, you can actually add conditions in. And each of those conditions can be submitted to a different person. You'll see that I have it assigned to myself, and you have got a default message that will go in the email. And these messages can be tailored to whatever you want to see. And certain messages can have email actions within them. So you can approve directly from the email. So, just to show you how this would work, I'm going to log in as another user. So I'm going to log in myself, and I'm a timesheet and expense person. And I forgot my password, sorry, bear with me a second. So, as an employee, I will have a nice limited homepage when I log in to just do a timesheet, expense, so on and so forth. So, I'm going to click on my timesheet. And these are the ones that are pending action. Actually, what I want to do is I want to enter a new one. So, I'm just going to access my projects. What was I doing? And I did 5 hours on Monday. You see here, I can attach notes because I'm on the timesheet. Let's say that's my timesheet done. I can submit that up to whoever the next person above me needs to approve it. They will then receive an email and I can view at any time who it needs to be done. I can approve that because I can do self-approval. And that is now on the system as a timesheet. So it's a very, very simple way of submitting any kind of information from transactions, timesheets, so on and so forth, to go through a workflow. It keeps a record of the workflow, which you can track, and from an auditing perspective, that's absolutely fantastic. So from the list point of view, you can then very, very easily scroll through and have a look at any list that either you have to approve, where they are for approval, the receipt, the reasons why it was approved, or why it was rejected. Matt is showing me now an email that he's received to say he needs to approve my timesheet. And that's a whistle-stop tour of GP 2016. For my personal opinion, I think GP 2016 is on the cutting edge of enabling new technology. So using the REST APIs with OData, doing reporting in Excel, using Power BI, and empowering people to gather their own information when they need to. That's it from the webinar.